His punishment, his prize. A werewolf romance story. Opening, Luna's introduction. Hello, my beautiful dreamers. This is Luna, and welcome back to Luna's Romance Audiobooks, where even the darkest beginnings can lead to the most beautiful endings. Tonight, I have a story that will take you on an emotional journey. A tale of punishment that becomes passion, of a ruthless king who discovers his heart, and a woman who transforms from prisoner to queen. Imagine being given to the most feared alpha in all the kingdoms. Not as a bride, not as an ally, but as punishment for a crime you didn't commit. Imagine facing a king known for his cruelty, his iron rule, his complete lack of mercy. Now imagine him making you his everything. So settle in, my dreamers. This is a story of pain and healing, of darkness finding light, of two broken souls becoming whole. This is his punishment, his prize. Prologue. The sentence. The throne room was silent except for my shackled footsteps echoing against marble. I kept my eyes down, my wolf cowering inside me as I was dragged before the Council of Elders. Before my father, the alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, who wouldn't meet my gaze. Before the visiting dignitaries who'd come to witness my sentencing. Seraphina Ashwood, Elder Matthias's voice boomed. You stand accused of treason against your pack, of conspiring with the rogue wolves who attacked our northern border, of betraying your own people for personal gain. I started, but a guard's hand on my shoulder silenced me. The evidence is clear, Matthias continued. Letters in your handwriting, meetings witnessed by credible sources, the testimony of your own brother. I looked at Damien then, standing among the accusers. My twin, my other half. The brother I'd protected, covered for, loved unconditionally. The brother who'd framed me for his own crimes. His expression was carefully blank, but I saw the truth in his eyes. The calculation. The cold ambition that had always lurked beneath his charming exterior. He'd needed a scapegoat for his treasonous dealings with the rogues. And I, his too trusting sister, had been perfect. The sentence for treason is death, Matthias said, and my mother's sob echoed through the chamber. I waited for it, the silver bullet, the quick end. But then another voice spoke, deep, cold, utterly commanding. I have a better idea. Every head turned. He stood in the shadows near the back of the throne room, but there was no mistaking who he was. Even those who'd never seen him knew. Alpha King Lycan Blackfang, the Ruthless King, the Blood Alpha. He stepped into the light, and I forgot how to breathe. He was massive, easily 6.5 feet of pure muscle and predatory grace. His hair was black as midnight, his eyes a pale silver that seemed to see straight through flesh, to soul. Scars marked his face and hands, each one a story of survival, of violence, of battles won. He was the most terrifying man I'd ever seen, and his eyes were locked on me. Your Majesty, Matthias stammered, bowing. We didn't expect, that is, we're honored by your presence, but... The girl, Lycan interrupted, his gaze never leaving mine. She's unmated? Yes, but... Then I'll take her. The room erupted in whispers. Your Majesty, my father finally spoke, his voice weak. Surely a traitor isn't worthy of... I didn't say she was worthy. Lycan's smile was sharp as a blade. I said I'd take her, as punishment since you seem reluctant to execute her. She'll serve in my household, live or die by my mercy. He tilted his head, studying me like a predator sizing up prey. A fitting sentence for a traitor, wouldn't you say? A lifetime serving the most ruthless king in the realm. I should have been grateful. Death sentences could be appealed, could be overturned. This was mercy, even if it came wrapped in cruelty. But looking into those silver eyes, I wasn't sure which fate was worse. It's decided then, Matthias said, relief evident. Executing an alpha's daughter, even a traitorous one, was politically messy. This solved everything. Seraphina Ashwood, you are hereby sentenced to a lifetime of service to His Majesty, Alpha King Lycan Blackfang, May the moon goddess have mercy on your soul. They unshackled me, only to replace the bonds with silver cuffs. A clear message that I was property now, not a person. As I was led away, I caught Damien's expression. Satisfaction. He'd won. But he didn't see what I saw. The way the ruthless king watched me, his nostrils flaring slightly as he caught my scent. The way his eyes flashed gold for just a moment before returning to silver. The way his jaw clenched, as if he was fighting some internal battle. I didn't understand it then. I didn't know that the moon goddess had just played the cruelest joke of all. That the ruthless king who'd claimed me as punishment was my fated mate. And that he'd known it the moment he'd walked into that throne room. Chapter 1. The Journey. The carriage ride to the Black Fang Kingdom took 3 days. 3 days of silence, broken only by the sound of wheels on dirt roads and the occasional command from the guards. 3 days of sitting across from the king who'd claimed me, his pale silver eyes watching my every move. He didn't speak to me, didn't acknowledge me beyond ensuring I was fed and allowed brief moments to tend to my needs under heavy guard. But he watched, always watching. On the 3rd night, we stopped at an inn. I was given a small room, sparse but clean, with guards posted outside my door. I was washing my face in the basin when I caught his scent. Cedar and ash and something wild, untamed. It wrapped around me like smoke, making my wolf stir for the first time since my sentencing. I turned to find him in my doorway, filling the frame with his presence. "Your Majesty," I said, dropping into a curtsy despite the silver cuffs weighing down my wrists. "I didn't hear you knock." "I didn't." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. My heart hammered. We were alone. Completely alone. And he was the most dangerous man in the realm. "Please," I whispered, hating the tremor in my voice. "Whatever you're going to do." "What do you think I'm going to do?" His head tilted, curiosity rather than threat in his expression. "I don't know. Punish me? Use me? You claimed me from my pack. I'm yours to do with as you please." Something flickered in his eyes. "Is that what you think? That I claimed you for that? Why else would you save a traitor from execution?" He moved closer, and I forced myself not to retreat. Forced myself to hold his gaze even as my wolf whimpered at his proximity. "Tell me something, Seraphina Ashwood," he said softly, dangerously. "Did you do it? Did you betray your pack?" The question caught me off guard. "Does it matter?" "Answer me." "No." The word came out stronger than I felt. "I didn't betray anyone. My brother." I cut myself off. What was the point? No one had believed me before. Why would this ruthless king be different? "Your brother framed you," Lycan finished. "I know." I stared at him. "What?" "I've had my spies watching the Silver Moon Pack for months. Your brother's dealings with the rogue wolves weren't as secret as he thought." His expression was unreadable. "I know you're innocent." "Then why—" I couldn't finish the question. "Why claim me? Why take me from my home?" "Because the alternative was watching them execute an innocent woman." His hand reached out, his fingers ghosting over the silver cuffs on my wrists. Where his skin touched mine, heat sparked. "And because the moment I walked into that throne room and caught your scent, I knew." "Knew what?" His eyes met mine, and I saw it, the flash of gold, the wolf rising to the surface. "That you're mine." The word hung between us, loaded with meaning I was afraid to unpack. "I don't understand." "You're my mate, Seraphina." His voice was rough, like the admission cost him. "My fated mate. The one the moon goddess chose for me." I took an involuntary step back. "No, that's not. You're the ruthless king. You're cruel and violent and you're a convicted traitor," he interrupted, something like dark humor in his tone. "Seems the goddess has a twisted sense of humor." "This can't be real." "It is." He held out his hand. "But here's what you need to understand, little traitor. I didn't claim you to be my mate. I claimed you as punishment, as your sentence demanded. What we are to each other, that's irrelevant. Irrelevant? I don't do mates. I don't do love. I don't do any of the sentimental nonsense that weakens a king. His expression was ice. You'll serve in my household as planned. You'll obey my commands. You'll live or die by my mercy. The mate bond changes nothing. But even as he said it, I saw the lie in his eyes, felt it in the way his hand trembled slightly before he pulled it back. The mate bond changed everything, and we both knew it. Get some sleep, he ordered, turning toward the door. We reach the capital tomorrow. Your new life begins then. He was at the threshold when I found my voice. Why? I called out. If you don't want a mate, why save me at all? Why not let them execute me and be done with it? He paused, his back to me, tension in every line of his massive frame. Because the thought of you dying made my wolf want to tear apart everyone in that throne room. His voice was barely above a whisper. And I've learned not to ignore my wolf's instincts when they're that strong. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with the scent of cedar and ash and the terrifying realization that my life had just become infinitely more complicated. I was mated to the ruthless king. And he'd just made it clear that he'd rather die than claim me. This was going to be a nightmare. Chapter 2. The Blood Palace. The Black Fang Palace was aptly named. It rose from black stone, all sharp angles and imposing towers, perched on a cliff that overlooked a valley of perpetual mist. Everything about it screamed danger, power, dominance. Just like its king. I was taken to the servants' quarters, a vast network of rooms beneath the main palace where the staff lived and worked. My room was small but surprisingly comfortable, with a real bed and a window that looked out over the gardens. You'll start in the kitchens, the head housekeeper, a stern beta woman named Helga, informed me. 6 in the morning until 8 at night. You'll take your meals with the other servants. You'll speak when spoken to and stay out of His Majesty's way. Understand? Yes, ma'am. She studied me with sharp eyes. You're the traitor from Silvermoon. Not a question. News traveled fast. I started, then stopped. What was the point? Yes, I'm the traitor. His Majesty doesn't suffer fools or failures. Work hard, keep your head down, and you might survive. She turned to leave, then paused, and stay away from the king's chambers. He values his privacy above all else. I worked in the kitchens for 2 weeks without seeing Lycan once, but I felt him constantly through the bond I was trying desperately to ignore. Felt his presence in the palace like a lodestone pulling at my soul. Felt flashes of his emotions. Rage during what I assumed were council meetings. Satisfaction after what might have been training sessions. And sometimes, late at night, a bone-deep loneliness that made my heart ache. The other servants were kind enough, though wary. I was the traitor, after all. The criminal their king had claimed as punishment. Only one person seemed determined to befriend me. You're doing it wrong, a cheerful voice said behind me as I scrubbed pots on my 3rd week. I turned to find a young Omega woman with wild red curls and a mischievous smile. I'm sorry? The pots. You're scrubbing against the grain. Here. She took the brush from my hand, demonstrating. See? Much easier. Thank you. I'm Rowan, she grinned. Kitchen assistant, general troublemaker, and apparently the only person in this entire palace willing to talk to the infamous traitor. Despite everything, I smiled. Serafina? Though I suppose you already knew that. Everyone knows that. You're all anyone can talk about. She lowered her voice conspiratorially. The king's never brought anyone back from a sentencing before, and certainly never someone who smells like... She trailed off, her eyes widening. Like what? I asked. Like his mate. I nearly dropped the pot. How did you... Please, every wolf in this palace with a functioning nose can smell the bond between you two. It's like... She made a gesture. Like lightning in a bottle, crackling and dangerous and impossible to ignore. He doesn't want me, I said quietly. He made that very clear. What the king wants and what he needs are two very different things. Rowan leaned against the counter, but I'll warn you, don't expect him to make it easy. Lycan Blackfang became ruthless for a reason, and that reason is buried so deep, I don't think anyone knows the whole story anymore. What do you mean? She glanced around, making sure no one was listening. He wasn't always like this. Cold, brutal. Apparently, years ago he was different. Some say he even smiled occasionally. Her expression sobered. But something happened. Something bad enough that he locked his heart away and became the king everyone fears. What happened? No one knows for sure. But whatever it was, it broke something in him. Rowan squeezed my hand. So if you're hoping your mate bond will soften him, don't. That man doesn't do soft. He doesn't do vulnerable. He does power and control and nothing else. I should have heeded her warning. But that night, when I felt a pull through the bond so strong it physically hurt, I found myself following it like a moth to flame, through the servants' passages, up the stairs I wasn't supposed to climb, into the wing where the king's chambers resided. I found him on a balcony, staring out at the mist-shrouded valley below. He must have heard me approach. His senses were too sharp to miss it, but he didn't turn around. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice carrying on the night wind. "I know. I could have you punished for entering the royal wing. I know that too." Finally, he turned. In the moonlight, he looked different. Younger, somehow. And so tired, it made my chest ache. "Why are you here, Serafina?" I struggled for words. "The bond. You were hurting." His expression shuddered immediately. "I don't hurt. I don't feel. And you certainly shouldn't be feeling anything through a bond I haven't acknowledged." "Too late. I do feel it. I feel you." I stepped closer, drawn by forces I couldn't name. You can deny it all you want, but it's there. Between us. Real and alive and unwanted. The word was brutal. Final. I don't want a mate, Serafina. I don't want the weakness that comes with caring for someone. I don't want the vulnerability. I don't want any of it. Then reject me. The words came out before I could stop them. Officially reject the bond. Break it completely. Free us both. For a long moment he just stared at me. Then, so fast I barely saw him move, he was in front of me. His hand cupped my jaw, tilting my face up to his. "You think I haven't tried?" His voice was ragged. "You think I haven't spent every night since I met you trying to force the words out? Trying to break this bond that should never have existed? Then why? Because I can't." The admission seemed torn from him. "Every time I try to form the rejection, my wolf fights me. Every time I think about being free of you, something inside me screams wrong. And I don't understand it because I don't want this. I don't want you." But his thumb was stroking my cheekbone, and his eyes were pure gold now, his wolf fully present. And the way he was looking at me had nothing to do with not wanting. "You're lying," I whispered. "I'm the king. I don't lie." "You're lying to yourself." I placed my hand over his heart, feeling it thunder beneath my palm. "You want this bond as much as I do. You're just too afraid to admit it." The admission hung between us for one perfect moment. Then his mouth was on mine, and the world exploded into sensation. The kiss was brutal, claiming absolutely devastating. He kissed me like he was starving and I was his first meal in years. Like he was drowning and I was air. I kissed him back with equal desperation, my hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer even though there was no space left between us. When we finally broke apart, both gasping, his eyes were wild. "This changes nothing," he said, but his voice shook. "Liar. I'm still your king. You're still my prisoner. The bond still doesn't matter. Keep telling yourself that. His hand tightened on my jaw. Go back to your quarters, Serafina. Before I do something we'll both regret. What if I want you to? For a moment, just a moment, I saw raw need flash across his face. Saw him waver. Then the shutters came down, cold and absolute. Go! Now! That's an order. I went, but as I fled back to my room, my lips still tingling from his kiss, I knew one thing for certain. The ruthless king could deny the bond all he wanted. But he'd just shown me the truth. He wanted me. And I was going to make him admit it. Chapter 3. The Game. The next morning I found a gift on my bed. A dress, simple but beautiful, deep emerald that would bring out my eyes. Far nicer than anything a servant should own. There was no note. But I knew who it was from. I caught his scent, cedar and ash, lingering on the fabric. Rowan whistled when she saw it. Someone's catching the king's attention. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. She grinned. Wear it tonight. There's a feast for the visiting alphas. Servants are required to attend in formal dress. The feast was magnificent. Long tables laden with food, the great hall filled with visiting nobility from across the realm. I stood along the wall with the other servants, ready to fetch drinks or food as needed. And I wore the emerald dress. Lycan sat at the head table, looking every inch the ruthless king in black formal attire. He was discussing something with a visiting alpha, his expression bored, until he looked up and saw me. His eyes locked on mine across the crowded hall. I watched his pupils dilate, watched his jaw clench, watched his hand tighten on his goblet until I thought it might shatter. He didn't look away. Neither did I. The visiting alpha, a pompous man named Aldridge, noticed the direction of Lycan's stare. "Ah," he said loudly enough for half the hall to hear. "The infamous traitor! Tell me, Black Fang, what do you plan to do with her? Surely keeping her as a servant is too merciful for treason." "Her punishment is mine to decide," Lycan said coldly. "Not yours." Of course. But if you tire of her, I'd be happy to take her off your hands. A pretty thing like that has uses." The temperature in the hall dropped 10 degrees. Lycan stood slowly, his presence filling the room. "Say that again." Aldridge paled, realizing his mistake. "Your Majesty, You merely meant to suggest claiming what's mine." Lycan's voice was deadly quiet. "She's under my protection, my sentence, my authority. Anyone who touches her answers to me." The possessiveness in his tone sent shivers down my spine. Aldridge bowed hastily. "My apologies, Your Majesty. I meant no disrespect." Lycan sat back down, but his eyes found mine again, and this time there was something new in them. Recognition, acceptance. Mine. After the feast, I was clearing tables when a hand caught my wrist. "Come with me." Lycan's voice was low, commanding. "Your Majesty, I need to finish." "Now, Serafina." He led me through the palace, upstairs and down corridors I'd never seen, until we reached a part of the castle that was clearly his private domain. His study was massive, dark wood and leather, shelves full of books and maps, a fireplace burning low. He closed the door behind us, then turned to face me. "That dress," he said. "You sent it." "I did." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "Do you know why?" "To torture yourself?" A ghost of a smile. "Perhaps. Or perhaps because seeing you in servant's rags was driving my wolf insane. He wants his mate honored, not scrubbing pots in the kitchen. And what do you want? That's the question, isn't it?" He stopped inches away, so close I could feel the heat radiating from him. "What I want contradicts everything I've built. Everything I am." "Who says you can't have both?" "Because being ruthless kept me alive. Being cold kept me safe. Caring about someone." He cut himself off. "That's how you get destroyed." "Is that what happened to you?" Someone destroyed you? His expression shuddered. That's not your concern. It is if we're mates. We're not. But even as he said it, his hand reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. We can't be. Why not? Because ruthless kings don't have mates. They have political alliances. They have strategic marriages. They have heirs conceived out of duty, not love. His thumb traced my jaw. They don't have fated mates who smell like moonlight and feel like home. The admission was raw, vulnerable. Lycan, don't. His forehead pressed against mine. Don't make this harder than it already is. What if I want to make it harder? What if I want to fight for this bond? Then you're a fool. But his arms wrapped around me, pulling me against his chest. A brave, reckless fool who's going to get her heart broken. Better a broken heart than no heart at all. He pulled back to look at me, something like wonder in his silver eyes. How are you not afraid of me? Every wolf in this kingdom fears the ruthless king. But you challenge me, push back, refuse to submit. Maybe because I see past the ruthless king. My hand rested over his heart. I see a man who's been hurt so badly he's afraid to ever feel again. A man who saved an innocent woman from execution even though he didn't have to. A man who sends gifts to his mate even though he's trying to deny the bond. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? I held his gaze. Tell me about her. The one who hurt you so badly, you locked your heart away. His entire body went rigid. How did you... Rowan told me you used to be different. That something broke you. I gentled my voice. Tell me what happened. For a long moment he was silent. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. Her name was Alara. He pulled away, moving to stand before the fire, his back to me. She was my fated mate. The one the goddess chose for me before you. His voice was hollow. We were young, stupid, in love. I thought... He laughed bitterly. I thought we'd have forever. What happened? Politics. My father arranged a marriage to a princess from a neighboring kingdom, a strategic alliance to prevent war. I refused. Said I'd already found my mate, that I wouldn't give her up for politics. My heart was breaking for him. Lycan. So they killed her? The words were flat, dead. The night before I was supposed to choose between Ilara and duty. Someone poisoned her, made it look like an accident. He turned to face me then, and I saw the devastation in his eyes. I never found proof, but I knew. My father, the princess's family, someone who wanted the alliance badly enough to murder an innocent woman. I'm so sorry. I became ruthless that day. Locked away every soft feeling, every vulnerability, every weakness. His expression was ice. Because caring about someone got Alara killed. And I swore I'd never give anyone that power over me again. So, you've been alone ever since. Alone is safe. Alone can't be used against me. He moved toward me again, stopping just out of reach. And then you happened. The moon goddess gave me a second mate, as if she was giving me a second chance. But I don't want a second chance, Seraphina. I want... what? To be alone forever? To never feel anything? To lock yourself away in this palace, like you're the prisoner, instead of me? Better that than watching you die because you were unfortunate enough to be mated to me. The words hung between us, raw and true. You can't protect me by pushing me away, I said softly. I can try. And you'll fail, because the bond is already there, Lycan. Whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you want it or not, it exists. We're connected. And nothing you do will change that. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, with a sound between a growl and a groan, he closed the distance between us. You're going to be the death of me, he murmured against my lips, or the making of you. This kiss was different from the first, Still passionate, still desperate, but with something softer underneath. Something like hope. When we parted, he rested his forehead against mine. "I can't promise you love," he said quietly. "I can't promise you a fairy tale. All I can promise is that while you're under my protection, nothing will harm you. Even if I have to burn the entire realm to keep you safe. That's enough," I whispered. "For now, that's enough." But I was lying. Because I didn't want protection. I wanted his heart. And I was going to fight for it, no matter what it took. Chapter 4. The Threat. 3 weeks after that night in the study, everything changed. I woke to chaos. Guards running through the halls, servants whispering frantically, the palace on high alert. "What's happening?" I asked Rowan in the kitchens. Her face was pale. "There's been an attack, the eastern border. Rogue wolves, but organized. Military style." My blood ran cold. Organized rogue attacks meant someone was funding them, leading them, supplying them. Like my brother had been before he framed me. I found Lycan in the war room, surrounded by his generals, maps spread across the table. "Your Majesty," I started, then stopped as every head turned to me. "Seraphina." His voice was sharp. "You shouldn't be here. I need to talk to you, about the rogues. I might have information. Not now. But if this is connected to what my brother was doing, I said not now." The alpha command in his voice made my wolf whimper. "Return to your quarters. Immediately." Hurt and dismissed, I turned to leave. Then one of the generals spoke. "Your Majesty, about the traitor. Perhaps we should question her more thoroughly. If she was involved with the rogues before." "She wasn't," Lycan cut him off coldly. "With respect, sire, we only have your word on that. And her brother's testimony was a lie. I've told you this." "Yes, but," the general hesitated. "The council is asking questions about why you claimed a convicted traitor, about your leniency with her." I saw Lycan's jaw clench. "My decisions regarding Seraphina are not up for debate." "Of course not, Your Majesty. But perhaps, for appearances, she should be confined, questioned, just to assure the council that she poses no threat." For a moment, Lycan was silent. Then, "Fine. Confine her to her quarters under guard. No visitors except by my express permission." The words felt like a physical blow. "Lycan," I breathed. His eyes met mine, and I saw the apology there, the regret, but also the ruthless king who would sacrifice anything, even me, for his kingdom's safety. "Take her," he ordered. Guards escorted me back to my room, posting themselves outside. I was a prisoner again, but this time the bars were his own making. I felt his turmoil through the bond, felt his guilt, his anger at having to make this choice. But he'd made it anyway. I spent 2 days in that room, feeling the bond stretch thin with distance as Lycan stayed in the war room, planning his response to the rogue attacks. On the 3rd day, Rowan managed to slip past the guards. "I have news," she whispered. "Bad news." "What?" "Your brother. He's here." My world tilted. "What?" "Damien Ashwood arrived this morning with a delegation from Silvermoon. Apparently he's offering to help against the rogues." Her expression was grim. "He's claiming he has inside information about their movements." Of course he did, because he was probably still working with them. "I need to see Lycan. That's the problem. Your brother's been in meetings with the king all morning. And Seraphina," she hesitated. "I don't think His Majesty knows about your brother's involvement. Not really, not like you do." "Then I need to tell him." "The guards won't let you leave." "I don't care. I have to try." But when I reached the door, the guards blocked my way. "King's orders," one said. "You're confined until further notice. This is an emergency. No exceptions." I felt Lycan through the bond, felt his presence somewhere in the palace, tantalizingly close but unreachable. And I felt something else. A wrongness, a danger approaching. That night I dreamed. Alara stood before me, beautiful and ethereal, her throat torn out. "He'll never survive losing another mate," she whispered. "Protect him, even if he won't protect himself." I woke with a start, my heart racing. Something was wrong. The bond was screaming warnings, my wolf clawing to get out. Then I smelled it. Smoke. The palace was on fire. I ran to the door, pounding on it. "Fire! We need to evacuate!" The guards opened the door, their expressions panicked. "Get to the courtyard." But I was already running the other way. Toward the king's chambers, toward Lycan. The smoke was thick, the heat intense. I wrapped my dress over my nose and mouth, following the bond like a lifeline. I found him in his study, unconscious, blood trickling from a wound on his temple. And standing over him, silver dagger raised, was my brother. "Hello, sister," Damien said with that charming smile I'd once loved. "Fancy meeting you here." "What did you do?" "What I should have done months ago. The rogue attacks were just a distraction. A way to get close to the ruthless king." He gestured to Lycan's prone form. "He's been drugged. Won't wake for hours. Long enough for the fire to kill him and everyone in this wing." "Why?" "Because Black Fang discovered too much about my operations. Because he was planning to expose me to the council." Damien's smile faded. "And because killing him while you're here? That frames you perfectly. The vengeful traitor who murdered her captor. No one will question it. You're insane." "I'm ambitious. There's a difference." He raised the dagger. "Goodbye, sister. Try not to haunt me too much." He lunged. I dove, not away from him, but toward Lycan. The dagger meant for the king's heart pierced my shoulder instead. The pain was blinding, but I didn't care. I threw myself over Lycan's unconscious body, shielding him with mine. "You idiot!" Damien snarled, raising the dagger again. "You're choosing him? After everything? He doesn't even want you." "He's my mate," I gasped. "I'd die 1,000 times before I let you touch him." The dagger descended, and then Lycan's hand shot up, catching Damien's wrist with crushing force. His eyes opened, pure, molten gold, and the growl that came from his throat was primal. "No one," he said softly, deadly, "touches my mate." What happened next was brutal and swift. Lycan moved like death itself, every motion precise, efficient, lethal. Damien never stood a chance. When it was over, my brother lay unconscious, bound in silver chains, and Lycan was cradling me against his chest, his hand pressed to my bleeding shoulder. "You foolish woman," he said, his voice breaking. "You could have died. So could you. I'm not worth your life. You're worth everything." I touched his face, feeling wetness on my fingers. He was crying. The ruthless king was crying. "You're my mate, Lycan. My everything. And I'm done pretending otherwise." He kissed me then, desperate and claiming, tasting of smoke and salt and salvation. "Mine," he whispered against my lips. "You're mine, Seraphina. My mate. My heart. My everything." "Yours," I agreed. "Always yours." The palace guards burst in, extinguishing the last of the flames, securing the unconscious Damien. But I barely noticed. Because the ruthless king was holding me like I was precious. Like I was his whole world. Like he'd finally stopped running from what we were. "I love you," he said, the words rough but true. "I've loved you since the moment I saw you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I made you doubt it." "I love you too," I whispered, "even when you're being an idiot." His laugh was watery but genuine. "My fierce, brave mate." "Your punishment," I corrected softly. "No." He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. "My prize. The greatest prize the goddess ever gave me." And as he carried me to safety, the bond between us blazing gold and perfect, I knew that my story had come full circle. I'd been given to a ruthless king as punishment, and he'd made me his everything. Chapter 5. The Trial. The trial of Damian Ashwood was swift and public. Evidence of his treason, real evidence this time, was overwhelming. His dealings with the rogues, his plot to assassinate the king, his attempt to frame me. Lycan sat on his throne, every inch the ruthless king, as my brother was sentenced. Damian Ashwood, Lycan's voice echoed through the throne room. You are found guilty of treason, conspiracy to commit murder, and the framing of an innocent woman. The sentence is death. My brother didn't beg, didn't plead, just stared at me with something like regret in his eyes. I'm sorry, Sarah, he said quietly. For what it's worth, I am sorry. I didn't respond. Couldn't. The betrayal ran too deep. After the sentencing, Lycan found me in the gardens, staring at nothing. Your brother will be executed tomorrow, he said softly, sitting beside me on the bench. I know. If you want to say goodbye, I don't. I turned to face him. He made his choices. He has to live and die with them. Lycan's hand found mine, our fingers interlacing. I received word from Silver Moon. Your father is requesting your return. Your name has been cleared. You can go home. My heart stuttered. Home? If that's what you want. His voice was careful, neutral, but I felt his emotions through the bond. Fear, hope, desperate longing. You're free, Seraphina. Your punishment is over. You can leave. And if I don't want to leave? His eyes met mine, silver and vulnerable. Then I'm asking, begging, you to stay. Not as a prisoner. Not as punishment. He brought my hand to his lips. As my mate. My Luna Queen. My wife. Lycan, I know I don't deserve you. I know I've been cruel, distant, foolish. I know I pushed you away when I should have claimed you. He slid from the bench, kneeling before me. But I'm asking anyway. Marry me, Seraphina. Rule beside me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that you weren't just my punishment. You're my salvation. Tears blurred my vision. You really are terrible at romance. His laugh was shaky. Is that a yes? It's a yes, you ridiculous man. I pulled him up, kissing him soundly. I'll marry you. I'll be your Luna Queen. I'll stay by your side and challenge you, and refuse to let you lock your heart away ever again. The smile that crossed his face was pure joy. I love you. I love you too. Even when you're being ruthless and impossible. Especially then. Especially then. He kissed me again, deep and claiming, the bond between us singing with rightness. When we parted, he rested his forehead against mine. I have something for you. He pulled a ring from his pocket, silver with a moonstone that caught the light. It was Alara's, he said softly. She'd want you to have it. Would want you to know that. His voice caught. That she'd approve. That she'd be happy I found love again. I slipped the ring on my finger, feeling the weight of it. The history. The blessing. Thank you, I whispered, for trusting me with your heart, with your past, with everything. Thank you for saving my life. In every way a person can be saved. That night, we stood before the assembled court and announced our engagement. The nobles who'd once whispered about the traitor now bowed to their future Luna Queen, and Lycan, the ruthless king, smiled. Actually smiled. Who are you, and what have you done with my mate? I teased later, in the privacy of his chambers. Our chambers, he corrected, pulling me close. And I'm still ruthless, just selectively. Selectively ruthless to my enemies. His hand slid into my hair, devoted to my mate. I can live with that. He kissed me, soft and sweet, and I felt the last of his walls crumble. The ruthless king had finally let himself love, and I was the lucky woman who got to love him back. Chapter 6. The Coronation. The wedding was magnificent. All the kingdoms sent representatives, nobility from across the realm gathering to witness the ruthless king marry his controversial mate. I wore white, traditional for Luna Queen ceremonies, with silver embroidery that caught the light. The moonstone ring glinted on my finger. Lycan wore black, severe and elegant, his pale eyes never leaving mine as I walked down the aisle. We stood before the high priestess, hands joined, the mate bond blazing between us. Do you, Lycan Blackfang, Alpha King of the Blackfang Kingdom, take Seraphina Ashwood as your mate, your wife, your Luna Queen? I do, with all that I am, all that I have, all that I'll ever be. I do. And do you, Seraphina Ashwood, take Lycan Blackfang as your mate, your husband, your king? I looked into his eyes and saw everything. The pain he'd survived, the walls he'd built, the love he'd finally allowed himself to feel. I do. Today and every day after, I do. The priestess smiled. Then by the power vested in me by the moon goddess herself, I pronounce you bonded. You may mark your mate. We'd already marked each other in private, but this was different. This was public claiming, visible to all. Lycan tilted his head, exposing his throat. Claim me, my queen. I bit down, my mark joining the one already there, the bond snapping into place completely. When I pulled back, his eyes were gold. Mine, he growled softly. Then he was marking me, his teeth piercing my skin, pleasure and power rushing through me. When he released me, my mark gleamed silver on my throat. Mine, I echoed. The throne room erupted in cheers. Later, at the feast, Lycan couldn't keep his hands off me, his arm around my waist, his fingers interlaced with mine, his mark on my neck visible to all. You're very possessive today, I murmured. You're mine. I'm allowed to be possessive. His lips brushed my ear. Besides, half the alphas in this room are looking at you like they wish they'd been the ones to claim you. Jealous? Homicidal. I laughed. Good thing I only want one ruthless king. Good thing I'm the only ruthless king you're getting. As the celebration continued, Rowan approached, tears in her eyes. You did it, she said, hugging me tight. From traitor to queen. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. Sure you could have, but I'm glad I got to watch. She grinned. And glad I get to serve the coolest Luna Queen in history. You're not serving me. You're my friend. My sister. I squeezed her hands. And I'm making you my lady-in-waiting. Official title. Official chambers. The works. Her eyes widened. Seraphina. That's an order. From your queen. She laughed through her tears. Yes, your majesty. As night fell, Lycan led me to the balcony where we'd first kissed. Happy? He asked, pulling me against his chest. Deliriously. Good. He was quiet for a moment. I never thought I'd have this. A mate. A partner. Someone who sees past the ruthless king to the man underneath. The man underneath is pretty amazing. The man underneath is yours. Completely. Irrevocably. His hand rested over my heart. You saved me, Seraphina, in every way possible. We saved each other. Perhaps we did. We stood there in the moonlight, the bond between us perfect and true, and I thought about the journey we'd taken, from prisoner and captor, to mates, to husband and wife, to king and queen. I love you, I said softly. I love you, he replied. My punishment, my prize, my everything. And beneath the watching moon, the ruthless king kissed his queen, and for the first time in years, he was truly, completely happy. Epilogue, 1 year later. Again! The little voice was imperious, demanding. I laughed, bouncing our daughter on my knee. Princess Alara, you're going to wear your poor mother out. Again, she insisted, her pale silver eyes, so like her father's, sparkling with mischief. Lycan entered the nursery, smiling at the scene. In the year since our wedding, I'd discovered that the ruthless king had a weakness. His daughter. Is she terrorizing you again? He asked, scooping Alara into his arms. Always, I said fondly. Our daughter had been born 6 months ago, a miracle child named for the mate Lycan had lost but never forgotten. She had her father's eyes and my dark hair, and she'd wrapped the ruthless king around her tiny finger from the moment she'd drawn breath. "Papa?" Alara grabbed his face. "Story. Bedtime story? Already? Story now!" He glanced at me, helpless. I just grinned. "You created this monster. You deal with her." As Lycan settled into the rocking chair with our daughter, beginning the tale of the brave wolf who became king, I watched them with a full heart. This was my life now, my family, my kingdom. A messenger appeared at the door. "Your Majesties, the Silver Moon delegation has arrived. Thank you, we'll receive them shortly." My father was visiting, the first time I'd seen him since my sentencing. He'd apologized, profusely and tearfully, for not believing me, for letting Damien manipulate him. I'd forgiven him, not immediately, and not easily. But I'd forgiven him, because holding on to anger poisoned the soul, and I had too much happiness now to let bitterness taint it. "Ready?" Lycan asked later, as we prepared for the formal dinner. "Ready?" I straightened his collar, though I reserve the right to be petty if he says anything stupid. "My fierce queen," he kissed me softly. "I love you. I love you too, even when you're being ruthless. Especially then. Especially then." The dinner went well. My father met his granddaughter and cried. He and Lycan discussed politics and trade agreements, and he apologized again, sincerely, for his failures as a father. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said quietly, "but I'm grateful for it nonetheless." "We all make mistakes," I said. "What matters is what we do after." After they left, Lycan and I stood on our balcony, the same one where everything had changed a year ago. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "Taking me as punishment, all the complications it caused?" He pulled me close, his arms wrapped around me from behind. "Never. Not for a single moment. Even when I'm difficult? Especially when you're difficult." His lips brushed my temple. "You know what the irony is? They gave you to me as punishment, as a burden I'd have to bear. And you became my greatest gift, my salvation, the best thing that ever happened to me." He turned me to face him. I was given a punishment and found a treasure, given a prisoner and found a queen, given a mate I didn't want and discovered the love I needed. Tears filled my eyes. "You're getting soft in your old age, Your Majesty." "Only for you, my queen. Only for you." He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. And as the moon rose over the Blackfang Kingdom, illuminating the palace and the realm beyond, I thought about the journey we'd taken. I'd been given to a ruthless Alpha King as punishment, and he'd made me his everything. His mate, his queen, his heart, the traitor and the ruthless king. Our story wasn't supposed to have a happy ending, but the moon goddess, it seemed, had other plans, and I was grateful for every single moment of it. Luna's closing, and there you have it, my beautiful dreamers. The story of Seraphina and Lycan, a punishment that became the greatest love story of all. Did this story touch your soul? Did you feel the transformation from prisoner to queen? Then show me some love. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me which moment made your heart race, and subscribe to Luna's romance audiobooks so you never miss another tale of true love. I want to know, could you forgive someone who sentenced you unfairly? Could you love someone who pushed you away to protect you? Tell me in the comments. And for those of you hungry for more passion, more drama, more impossible love, our next story is going to set your hearts on fire. It's called The Rogue King's Captive, and it follows a she-wolf captured by the exiled Alpha who once ruled her kingdom. He's dangerous, damaged, and determined to reclaim his throne. She's the daughter of the man who stole it. And the mate bond between them might be the only thing that can heal their broken world, or destroy it completely. Until next time, my dreamers, may your punishments become blessings, your captors become lovers, and your impossible love stories always find their happy ending. This is Luna, signing off. Sweet dreams, beautiful souls.